Hello everybody and welcome to another Transformers third-party review. To celebrate my recent partnership with the guys over at Robot Kingdom, we're having a slightly early look at the latest offering from Gcreation in the form of their Fuuma, or Fuuma? It is basically an IDW inspired six-shot, and straight off the bat, this is by far the very best figure they have ever offered. It's stepped up in production quality and it has the look and feel of, say, Unique Toys or DX9 and Generation Toys. Now I know a lot of you liked the aesthetic and the look that we got with the Gcreation Optimus Prime, but he was quite a fiddly mess in comparison to what Generation Toys had to offer. Thankfully, Sixshot doesn't suffer the same fate. First of all, let's tackle the elephant in the room. That is his size. He's quite a big boy, even towering over DX9's Hanzo. This is the slightly awful KO Hexatron. You know you've made it when you make a third-party figure and it gets bootlegged and sent to all the home discount stores throughout the UK. Yes, but you get the idea of his scale. He is quite substantially bigger. Now, nothing against Hexatron, it was a very good figure, but unfortunately, with the figures we get these days, I think he really is starting to show his age. Going back and rereading the source material, the Spotlight Sixshot, and they pretty much nail it. Now, like I mentioned in my Hot Flame review, I don't have many of the IDW style figures. I really do regret selling them, especially the likes of the Unique Toys Abominus. So I think he would have scaled really well and looked good with Fuuma. But hey, who knows, maybe we'll get an Abominus from Gcreation, or maybe the TFC version will scale quite nicely. Now, I don't have a Carnifex to compare him to, but looking at the material available online, they're pretty much of similar size. I believe Fuza just about tips the scale, but that's only if we go up to the top of those wing sections. Head-to-head, Carnifex is still a fraction taller. And here he is with that oversized version of Drift. I think Drift has bitten off more than he can chew. For those of you concerned with weight, he weighs 970 grams. That's 34.21 ounces. He is a beast. Before we delve into Sixshot himself, let's take a look at his accessories. We get two of these large rifles. Very nicely detailed. Blasters, just huge cannons, kind of getting a Power Ranger vibe at the back there. But we can open up these tab pieces here, allows us to bring these down, and then we have pegs so we can attach it in the vehicle mode, and we also have a tab here so it can be attached to various different points. You've got like a point on the arm, you've got a point on the leg, and we also get a selection of adapters as well, but I'll cover those in a second. We get two of these shurikens. Again, these can tab in at various points over his body, but these are made of a very thin plastic. They do feel a little bit fragile, and these are incredibly sharp as well, but man, do they look good. We get two of these kunai blades. I think that's what they're called. Again, lovely detailing, very nice use of colour. Some sprue marks on there. I'm not sure if that will be rectified for the final release. I think this is pretty close to production quality, so you may still get the odd sprue mark here and there, but adding a little bit of heat to that area, that generally tidies that up a little bit. But these are nice, I like these. As aforementioned, we get a small selection of different adapters and plugs, and last but not least, his pièce de résistance, his Kukitsukitsu, I think it's pronounced. It's his very nice sheath. again done in this kind of off-white plastic and grey, and a very massive, gorgeous die cast blade. Really, really nice, incredibly balanced as well. Real nice look to this. Love these. I mean, these are quite sharp, but I love that wave that we've got going on. Really nice sword. And when you get a chance to play around with the adapter slightly, you can just house the weapons just about anywhere. Let's take a look at his articulation. The head can look left and right. We can go up incredibly high, and we've got a very nice look down there. And of course we can tilt this quizzically side to side. Coming around to the shoulders, they can go up on this joint. We can go out, and then what I love about this is we have these piston sections that come out on that butterfly, and that's a really nice touch. Not only do we have this super duper butterfly joint, we also have an independent shoulder razor as well, which also doubles up as the ratchet forwards and backwards. The arm has a gorgeous ratchet joint on that elbow, and if the one joint is not enough for you, with the lower bicep rotation we can just untab this retaining piece from both sides, flip that up behind and just close that off, and now we get completely open and free biceps. We have an upper bicep rotation, and then we can just bend that arm up just a little bit more. As you can see, we do have the rotation and pivot on these chest pieces, and they can come up and out to the side as well, but that is part of the transformation. The hands are incredibly lovely, super tight and ridiculously articulated. The fact that we can bend them to the side as well as being able to bend to the side. Each finger has not one but 2 points of articulation, and just look at that big claw of a thumb. Now we get a nice smooth rotation there. We get a rotation as well as an abdominal crunch. We can go forward. It's only the one click. One's a retaining tab and one is a bend forwards, but it's an ab crunch nonetheless. I will take that. We have 1, 2, 3 hip skirts, which can move up, allowing for soft ratchets going forwards, not quite tight enough to support those humongously heavy, chunky die-cast feet. We can come out to the side on a nice ratchet. We do get an upper thigh rotation. I love the fact that these can come out to the side as well. Very natural. The rear ones are actually quite restricted. As soon as we move up this layer of hip skirts, they can go quite high, but as soon as this comes up, it kind of knocks this one back down. And the hip skirts are done in layers as well, which is always very nice indeed. Now with the knees, there's a lot going on in here. This section here can be tabbed in at the back of the leg to hold everything in place, to stop the legs moving and helps secure it into place. But to make full use of the joints, you want to just untab this, and we have this joint here. Looking on the inside here, we also have 2 ratchet joints, so we can bend the leg up and over, and you think, oh, that's not a great range there. No, it's not. But with this piece just untabbed, we've now got full access to that joint. We can bend this one and then bend this one all the way up and over. So I mean, that's a much better angle. Yes, this is a bit untidy, but we can still move these knee pads up, covering off those knees, which I think is an important thing. I think having pieces move, covering gaps, I think, you know, that does make all of the difference in my opinion. It can just slide up and over, and we can bring this tab down, and that just covers off all of that section, making it look much more fluid. And then coming down to the feet, we have these shin guard flaps, which can go up and down. We have these feet, which are not only pivoted with this additional kind of piston gap filling section. Doesn't really serve a purpose other than filling the gap in the shins, but it's definitely a nice look. I mean, the feet are fairly high, so it's nice to have something that does fill in that void. We have a flexible heel spur which can move up and down independently. Now, as far as articulation on these feet go, we can go forwards and backwards quite nicely. We can turn left and right within this housing here. And of course we can pivot out to the side. Unfortunately, it's not the most attractive of pivots when we bring it all the way out. But I mean, I'm not going to display him like that. I'm going to have him kind of at this angle and kind of that at the side maybe. But it definitely fills it out and it really helps with the balance. Now personally for me, that's a lot wider than what I would normally go for a stance, but it's nice to know that he's able to do it. Right, let's take a look at some of Sixshot's finer detailing. And one thing I am particularly impressed with is the head sculpt. Again, I was looking back at that source material and they've done a very good job of capturing that likeness. He's exceptional, and he's got so much heft to him as well, which is definitely a win for me. I like these very large wing sections for the chest. I love that you can move those around. Now we do have very slight, very hidden chest rockets. If we just flip those down, there we go, we have those on both sides. Very nicely hidden indeed. Very low profile. We have a wheel at the crotch. We have rubber tank treads which do move, and we also have rubber tires on the wheels which again do move quite nicely. We have the ability to move these thruster sections on the side, so you can also tilt upwards and outwards. It's just an all-round very good looking, very fun toy. I mean, there isn't much this guy can't do. I don't think I've ever had a Gcreation toy which is quite as posable as this guy. It's just a matter of playing around with all of those joints, and those hands are incredible. I mean, that's full-on precision ninja. And with a combination of very stiff joints and a great center of gravity, he's quite dynamic. Now, as amazing as his robot mode looks, it's not without its faults, mainly due to the fact that they've added so much articulation into those legs that it can become a little bit taxing just to pull off the right pose. And he's not a light figure, so it can become quite lumbersome, but to look at, he is honestly a phenomenal piece, and without a shadow of a doubt, my favorite version of this character. Now, let's take a look at his other alt modes. Now, once again, I must apologize, I don't have any instructions for this guy, so it is all guesswork at this time, so please bear with me. Now let's start off with his kind of winged wolf mode to begin with. So first port of action is you need to bring this thumb down and push that on the inside, and then we're going to wrap the fingers up and around the hand. I love these hands, they are fantastically made, so much articulation in those and so solid. Just come to the underside and lift the tab down, rotate the fist around, and that naturally wants to fall away and tuck inside that section, squaring off like this, and then we can just bring those wolf feet down and flip up and out the inbuilt heel spurs. And if you haven't already disengaged those arm locks, do that both sides, bring those back, tab those in and collapse those to the rear. Bring this center piece downwards and we can then bring Sixshot's head down, and this is going to be brought back up and tab in. Now these black sections at the back here are tabbed and locked in. We want to push down on this piece, and if you look on these rear sections, they are on sliders. They need to come all the way out, and then we can bring this piece all the way to the back. The wolf head is just locked on the inside. You want to just grab this piece, lift it up and pull this piece backwards. We can then lift the wolf head up fully and close this piece back off. We can then bring the head up, bring this neck piece in, and that's just going to fill in the neck gap and just open up that face. God, that's a scary look on wolf mode. Now I'm not entirely sure which way these are meant to go. Some of the earlier pictures I saw, the forearms for the wolf mode were facing this way, and this is the kind of standard way that the production shots have him shown in. To switch it around, you basically just rotate, bring the foot up and around. I personally prefer this look. It looks more like a paw in my opinion, and it also doesn't show off this gap, albeit the gap is detailed. I personally feel this kind of look is somewhat more in keeping. Come to this chest piece, and it's actually just tabbed in here. What you can do, you're going to bring it down, and once again we're on a slider joint. You want to give it a tug, and that slides as 2 clicks. Fold the hip skirt down, leaving the outer hip skirt section, and then just bring this piece upwards, filling in the gap on the thigh, and then just rotate the wing outwards. Start by opening up this shin guard. It's just going to open outwards and around, and do the same for the back of the leg as well. Untab this piece, come to here and untab this piece, and now you can see what we've got going on in here. We've got the feet on a ball kind of mount and swivel in there. We've got all of the kind of mechanism which twists and turns around for the car mode. On top of that, we then have these sections here which can slide and twist and turn. So there's a heck of a lot going on, and there's a lot involved. The aim is to move this piece into the inner leg. So first we'll bring this down. You need to pop this piece forwards. That's then going to drop downwards, and as this section goes down, we want to be aiming for kind of a bend on the leg at around this angle. Now move the foot down, and that allows us to bring the shin guard into this leg piece. We can then straighten this inner working up and bring this back piece over. Bring this piece over. That's all tabbed in. Straighten off the feet. Turn the jet thruster, and finally just close off the front of the leg, and there we have the legs positioned for wolf mode. And I think that's it. I think just shoving the tail section in like so, I think that is the wolf mode. Not entirely sure. Like I said, I'm going from a couple of pictures, but that's pretty nice nonetheless. It's definitely better than the original G1 wolf mode. This doesn't just look like Sixshot's bent over and changed his head, but unfortunately this is not without its drawbacks. As gorgeous as the beast head is, and the jaw does go up and down, we don't have any side-to-side rotation. Now we do have this nice up and down motion on the head, and we can actually move the neck up, but I really would have liked just a pivot or something under there, just this piece maybe to be able to rotate left and right. But that being said, we do have a lot of motion here. We can bring the arms to and from, around and around, and we have that gorgeous kind of hydraulic piece there that goes in and out of the mechanism. We have the rotation on the forearms, we have the bend on the elbow, we have the rotation on the upper elbow. Coming down to the waist, we do have some left and right motion still, and we do have an up and down motion. And coming down to the legs, we have all of that mechanism on the inside there, which allows for some nice ratchet bends, and it's all to do with whatever position you want to set this in. I mean, you could always bring the thighs up high and then drop that shin right in, or lower the thighs down and kind of straighten out that knee. And we of course still have all of the ridiculously deep, heavy plunge that those ankle tilts have to offer. And failing those side pods, if you're not a fan, you could always rotate those up and have them on the back of the hind legs. But personally, I do like the idea of a jet propelled wolf. From the wolf mode, let's transform him up into his spaceship mode. Now let's remove the tail section. I do love the versatility of these clips. It's all very nice indeed. Bring these chest pieces back up, slide back up along that piece, and then just tab in on the underside, lift up the shoulder section, and then we want to fold this wolf head backwards, these ears to the back, and basically as we bring this head back in, those ears are just going to fit under this gap here. The head is going to slide back down into that groove, and then close the jaw off, close this piece off, and then bring this piece up over and secure that into place. Right, let's bring these shoulders back in and make sure they're tabbed in fully. We can then rotate the arm upwards so the tank tread is facing inwards, flip back open that heel spur so we can tuck this in and rotate that back round. We can then make sure that this forearm is square, and we can bring this piece back down and just tab that all in, and then rotate this lower piece so that these vent sections are facing forward, and then just make sure these arms are tucked in firmly, and bring these pieces up and out to the side. Right, let's take a look at these legs. You have the shin guard section, which is on this flexible hinge that goes up and down, but you'll notice there's a pin that goes through the base, and you can't move this beyond this section here. So we have to turn the leg over, and there's this small tab here. What you need to do, you need to pull this tab outwards, and in doing so, it now allows us to slide this port all the way down to the bottom. That then allows us to bring this toe piece upwards. You then slide this joint back up so that the circle piece is at the very top, and then we can start placing the legs back together. You want to bring this piece in first, like so, and then we can close off this piece here. This can then come up and over, come to the underside, and you want to place this piece down first and tab that in, this piece over the top and tab that in, and then bring this section over, push this down, and then we're going to bring both of those legs together, firmly tabbing everything into place. We can then bring the wings out to the side, and we now have these feet as part of the base. This piece here and these pieces here, all of these hold the ship upwards. Let's just turn this over, and then we just plug the guns into the side pods. And there we have him in his spaceship or kind of jet fighter mode. It's not bad. It's definitely not just a bent over robot with his wings extended. I like it. It's different, but at the same time it does bear a very striking resemblance to his comic book counterpart. And to give you an idea of how he fares, here he is alongside the Kubenbau masterpiece Starscream. So it's a fairly hefty jet mode. Now, like I previously mentioned, I think with a couple of quick changes we can actually take this into his secret 7th mode. I think if we just open up these vents, come around to this back section, lift this up, and you want to just rotate this top piece, and whilst we're here we can then bring these shoulder sections all the way up, bring the wing down, rotate this one down, and then having this one rotated you can just place that on the bottom, come over and just unhinge this top piece, allowing us to bring out the wolf head, bring this back down and latch that in, close off this gap at the back using those shin guards, and then just position the wolf head accordingly. And there we have the flying wolf mode. Yes, it's clutching at straws a little bit, but then again the 7th mode was always clutching at straws. Unhinge this section again and lift that up so we can bring the head back in again, tucking that away, tuck those in, bring that forward and tuck that back in, bring these all the way across. You're going to remove the guns from these pods, and using the same connector you want to just bring it up to the top here and plug that in there. Bring the arm out slightly and just pull this section out and down, and that just slides inside the leg crevice, and then we can bring in this piece here and tab into the side, and then just bring these wheels around, and there we have the armored car mode. I quite like that one. I know it's not a huge stretch from the previous mode, but it's kind of nice, you know, it's got a really nice kind of armored vibe going on at the front there. All the wheels touch the floor, and it would roll quite nicely if it wasn't on my very kind of uneven Cybertronian surface. And again, with a quick scale comparison, here he is with his arch nemesis, Ultra Magnus. From his armoured car, we're going to go to his tank mode. Basically, first port of action is to remove these large cannons. We want to pretty much keep this upper torso section as it is. We can just move these sections back round so the wheels no longer touch the ground and it's actually all reliant on the tank treads. Untab the legs. Right, we now have to come around and detach all of this leg workings. It's a bit of a kerfuffle, but I'm sure the outcome is worth it. It's just a matter of untabbing everything in the correct order just so we can get everything to move. And unfortunately you've got to untab the underside as well. Up like this. And we are going to pull this tab again, because now we're going to make sure that this is fully extended so it's at its longest, and then tab this back down. And now we can bend this out, lift this leg upwards. And yes, it does look a bit of a mess at the moment, but we unfold the gun from the inside here, close this top piece and just tab that in, bring the foot back up and to the top, come around to the back, just close the shoe section off, bring this flap down to the side, and then we're just going to angle these guns where we want them and just tab those together. And last but by no means least, you want to just rotate this wheel so it's now facing inwards. There we have the tank mode. I actually think that could pull off almost a Scorpion mode. It's kind of got that look to it. Like I say, I think this is how it's done. I'm kind of guesstimating my way through this, judging by some of the older pictures online and some of the newer ones. I mean, you've got a few tabs in amongst here which we can flip open, which reveal slots. I have no idea. Maybe we can store stuff in there. I don't know. But no doubt you will all be able to tell me once you view this video and the official product is out. You're like, Ben, you've done this wrong, this wrong, this wrong, this wrong. But for now, take everything I say with a gracious pinch of salt and enjoy my enthusiasm and guesswork. You have to push quite hard for the track treads to work. That's just how it goes, unfortunately. I would like this to kind of attach to here just so it stays put. It doesn't appear to be anything which will hold it in place. None of these tabbing areas appear to line up with anything. That is literally my nitpick for that, though. I actually really like the tank mode. He looks like he's full on artillery, and it's the first time we get to see and use these hidden weaponry. The next logical step from this mode is to take him through to his gun mode. We're going to keep the legs as they are, and basically we're just going to extend them at the waist, bringing this whole waist section up along with the rest of the legs. We can also rotate these pods around so that this white large section is facing forwards. Now, just a disclaimer, this is a pre-production sample, and this piece on mine does tend to pop off. The final product, I no doubt, will be tabbed or glued. It's just this one side on mine tends to pop off. Bring this piece back up, tab that in, and then bring those down to the chest. And then we want to bring these down and extend those fully, rotate them around like so, and then rotate these arms up and over. Open up these lower tabs, slide these pieces out because you want to retract the hinges inwards, so they're going to slide all the way back down, and then push and tab those back in, and then close everything back off, and then finally bring the handle pieces together, just lining those pieces. Easier said than done whilst holding a giant robot cannon. And there we go. There is the giant gun mode. This is probably the weakest, in my opinion, of the I guess 7 modes, but hey, it's definitely resembles a gun. Unfortunately, this is the most like a giant robot kind of laying down, and unfortunately all of this die cast kind of hinged out does put a fair bit of strain on those ratchet joints just on the underside here, but like I say, they're very, very slowly making their way back down. I don't imagine many people are going to display their 6 shots in this mode, but the option is always there, and I mean, it is a giant gun. I don't even have a stand that will hold that up. There we go. It's not perfect, but it gives you an idea of the sheer size of the gun mode. I think personally I would choose to have these pieces kind of flipped up and pointing upwards, but that being said, it does look very much like a giant laser rifle space Decepticon-ish gun, doesn't it? So there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you've enjoyed this video and found it somewhat useful, being a slightly earlier insight into the gorgeous Fuuma from Gcreations. I've included a link in the description below which takes you through to the Robot Kingdom sale page. And until next time, from myself and Sixshot, thanks for watching. Goodbye.